Good evening, people, and welcome to YouthViewz. We are live on YouTube, and as you can see, the famous face in the middle there, we have with us special guest making his debut, not just on the YouthViewz show, but actually a live stream on the internet. We have our debut with Cornish Damo, who does Damo rants on the internet, but I'll let him obviously introduce himself in a second. But Damo, thanks for joining us tonight, mate.
Yeah, no problem.
And as a regular on the show, we have our main guy. We also call him the brain box of the show, Guy Lucas Barner. Guy, how are we, mate?
Very good. Very happy to be on the platform with Damo. He's a big icon of the movement.
Okay, I think we've just got a few issues with the sound there. Let me just make... Okay, so hopefully that's better now. Guy, listen, I heard you're not feeling too well. Is it too much campaigning or out in the cold or what?
I think that's probably a factor, but I kind of did what I could online and saw all the organisational stuff. I've written out a gigantic list of constituencies I'm definitely going to be visiting, so hopefully I'll get that done by this one.
Okay, I'm just still hearing a little bit of sound feedback. So hopefully, can everybody tell us on the in the comments if the sound's clear, if we're coming through clear or not, and we can try and mend that. Okay, listen, let's get going with this. We've got a lot to get through tonight in our show. Like I say, Cornish Damo. Damo, you like to be known as Damo. Is that all right? Or
Damo's fine.
Excellent. So Damo, let me just sort of introduce how I came across you. Obviously, we're all on the left-wing side of politics, and as you do, you
on here otherwise.
Well, exactly, yeah. And you came up on my Twitter as a suggested sort of ad, basically. And so obviously we added each other and whatnot. And but I'd noticed through going through some of your own Twitter sort of feed is that you basically make videos, don't you, Damo?
I do now. I've kind of evolved a little bit into making videos. It's just me getting a bit cocky, if anything, if nothing else. I mean, I started off really just making tweets that I felt were relevant to whatever was going on in the news. I clearly wasn't very happy with what the government of the day have been doing for some time, and it just seems to work better on Twitter if when you make a tweet that you have some sort of image to go with it, because it catches people's eyes and it just draws people in and they will pay more attention to what you say. So I used to just put a tweet up and I used to put a picture up while I was doing it of something relevant, clearly. I wasn't just talking politics and putting up a picture of a rhino or something strange like that. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute, why can't I make my own sort of thing, like all the memes that other people are doing? I started making them. And then I thought, well, I'll have a go at a video as well. I was asked to make one, essentially, to by the World Transport for one of their annual shows, and I put together a piece on what brought me into politics, really, and why I do what I do now, essentially, and it's just sort of grown from there. And people have picked up on it, and they've liked it, and they've chosen to follow me, and here I am today.
Yeah,
being suggested in your illustrious feed, I'm sure.
No, we really proud to have you on, and you know, in the world of Twitter, you know, there's no doubt. I would say that you're famous really in the social media world. So, but yeah, one thing that I liked about your videos, because I think we could be probably accused of being quite long-winded and boring at times in terms of some of our streams, but your clips generally don't last more than a few minutes, but they're very I think in terms of how you articulate and how quickly you manage to get a whole load of information into a bite size. Did you have to generally practice that before you go on, or do you just simply put on your camera or your phone and you freestyle?
It's called an auto cue. Everything I say an auto cue. It's loosely scripted. I will do a script, but I basically jot down a load of ideas of what I want to talk about. And to be honest, because you've got to get it within 2 minutes and 20 seconds on Twitter, you can't afford to hang around, really, not if you want to get it in a time frame. And I don't always, I fail, but often, especially if it's something I get particularly toothy about, and I'll go for several minutes on it. And then it comes up on YouTube and it gets clipped to Twitter, and it's not, it doesn't work well on Twitter that way. But yeah, it's a loose collect assembly of ideas. Sort of just I note down, and I will use that as a guide. And yeah, we'll have several attempts at it, because no doubt I will end up screwing up partly and trip over my words or forget what I was going to say.
Well, no,
time, but you know, it does with practice. I'm getting quicker and better at it, and less you know, take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4 kind of things.
Yeah, no, I'd like to say you what you are for me personally, certainly in the last few months, is you have become my daily news. You have, Damo, so where I can watch, and not much for me, but for many of us, really, I can watch the BBC or the Sky News, and then I watch Damo rants, and I'm like, which one of those is more credible? Actually, I think the one on the internet is a little bit more credible. So that's the idea, isn't it?
It is. So much of what I talk about, I've got through various mediums online. I wouldn't trust BBC News, quite frankly. I will not trust Sky News either. Yeah. I don't trust. I mean, I watch these things, but I will tend to disseminate them and pull them apart. If I want to get my news and I want to get an informed, well-written piece of news that I want to base my rants on, if you like, then I will choose something that is credibly, what's the word? Well, it's not so much catchy. They are regulated. That's the word I'm after.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Everybody's all regulated. I mean, all the print press and the TV press, they will choose to be regulated by IPSO. And IPSO effectively amounts to self-regulation. They are basically marking their own homework, if you like. I prefer the regulator in press, because in press are basically implemented the findings of the Leveson investigation. And anybody who has voluntarily signed up to Impress is abiding by the findings of Leveson voluntarily. And that, to me, speaks of professional journalism. You know, a conscientious decision that this is the type of journalist that I want to be. And I want to show that there is honour in the profession, and not just become a stenographer for the Conservative Party, essentially.
Absolutely.
Like you would get in the print media, which is, you know, 80% Tory-centric, or on TV. So I will go to sources like the Canary or Evolve Politics or Squawkbox, and that will be my go-to for news. And I will compare that with other sources, certainly, but that is what I consider to be the go-to places for an honest interpretation of left-wing news.
Absolutely. You've been brilliant, Damo. Damo, just give us your Twitter handle so that we can get it up on the screen for everybody to follow you who's watching.
It's at Cornish_Damo.
_Damo.
Make sure you remember the underscore. There is an at Cornish Damo, but he's not going to be active.
He's you. He's an imposter, isn't he?
I don't know if his account's actually older than mine is. I don't know.
Well, okay. We've got that on screen now. Hopefully, everybody can see that on screen. Follow. Is that correct, Damo?
Well done.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So, just briefly as well, Damo, how did you get into left-wing politics as well? Because I'm sure many of our viewers will want to know that. What is it that sort of turned you towards left-wing politics? Anything significant?
Anger, frustration.
At what?
I'm one of these the army of unpaid carers in this country. I have a disabled wife and daughter, and we've been through those assessments, the work capability assessments, the disability assessments, and you know, I am I'm being treated for depression and anxiety myself these days because of what this government has actually done to my family, the fear that it instills in my family. I thought the appearance of a brown envelope on the doorstep, and it's terrified me, let alone anyone else, because I know here we go again. The government are us, is, our numbers up once again. So it was just incessant anger, and I needed some sort of an outlet to just kind of vent my spleen, if you like. I took to social media, discovered Twitter, discovered plenty of like-minded people out there who like to they had no avenue really to get what they wanted to say. So I did that, and people have picked up on it ever since. And then of course I've just ran with it really. I've made a number of fantastic friends. I'm followed and am followed by some unbelievably brilliant people.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
It's really been quite remarkable.
Do you want to give any shout outs, Damo, to any of these any of your significant sort of social media mates?
So my favourite one is Laura Pidcock. I'm delighted he's followed by Laura.
Wow.
Does Laura Pidcock follow you?
Laura Pidcock follows me, so does John McDonald.
Wow. Guy, check that one out, Guy.
That is impressive.
Bring off the MB. Ian Lavery follows me as well. That's another one.
And you haven't even plugged us yet, Damo. I'm disappointed.
Oh, and you. Good morning. I'll let you in. So.
And you, bottom of the list, but yeah, look, I mean, Laura Pidcock, John McDonald, we are worthy. We are worthy. But it's nice to get that a recognition for somebody as significant as that. But ultimately, it is everybody else who has chosen to follow me, follow my doings, and more importantly, to share them about. Because if people didn't retweet what I put out there, then you wouldn't know who I was, and nobody else would be hearing what I have to say. And for those who appreciate it, they wouldn't hear it. So. I'm grateful to every last one of the 20,000 people that are currently following it. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And like I say, you do a grand sterling job. And people like myself and Guy on the stream at the moment, we aspire really that to reach your knowledge and your delivery really, because like I say, those bite-sized clips, not everybody has got time to necessarily listen to streams as long as ours or even longer than that. But if you want to, like I say to our viewers, if you want to catch a daily glimpse of the real news, then follow Cornish_Damo on Twitter. And like I say, Damo is regularly putting up videos. Hasn't done in a few days, but like I say,
it's weird, isn't it? With the election on, you'd think I'd be pumping them out left, right, and centre. But what I'm finding is I just absolutely don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm an active member within the Labour Party locally as well, and we've got an election on. We're trying to get our candidate, fantastic Alana Bates, who is standing in St Ives constituency. That's Lana for St Ives, if anybody wants to follow her and her doings. And we've got a long way to go to get a Labour MP here. We are a Tory Lib Dem marginal, and that's not a choice anymore. Quite frankly, we've got to remind people that actually, when you used to vote Lib Dem and you used to vote tactically, you were working on the assumption that they wouldn't ever put the Conservatives in. And ever since 2010 happened, you simply can't countenance that. And especially with the Lib Dem leadership as it currently stands, I'm even more convinced that party has not changed its spots at all.
No.
They are not an alternative choice to the Tories. They're just another colour of Tory, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm taking that message out on the streets of St Ives constituency and around my branch area, the Helston and District branch, to campaign to try and get Alana elected. And we were out today. We were out at the most southerly point in Britain today, all the way down in Lizard Village, and we've got a fantastic response down there. We've had people shaking our hands. We've had people putting window stickers up today. And it's genuinely been a pleasure to be out there today. And we beat the rain, which is now coming in.
Fair enough. That sounds. What is the mood changing in your constituency then, in terms of the pendulum swinging in our favour?
I think people are extremely receptive to what we've got to say and what we've got on offer. Actually, Cornwall is widely regarded as a Tory heartland, weirdly, although it used to be a Lib Dem heartland, and it still is the case that in a lot of places that it is a choice between the two. But 2017 came along and things have been shaken up. Labour are now second in 2 constituencies in Cornwall, and they got a real shout at taking those seats too. And they got 2 fantastic candidates in Perham Falmouth and Campbell and Redden Hale. And I truly do wish them all the best.
Definitely,
they deserve to turn Cornwall a little bit red if we can't. And it's somewhere after all, haven't we?
If and let them know if they need any assistance from ourselves, if we can use a channel in any way that's beneficial to them, then we're always there and ready and helpful for that. Guy, have you got any questions? We have so far the most famous person ever so far on this show in terms of the internet world and celebrity status. So look, take your opportunity now to ask Damo what you need to. Is anything that you, because I'll let you introduce yourself, Guy, really, to Damo in terms of who you are and what you're up to.
Yes, hello. I'm Guy, and I'm the youth officer for the Hertfordshire Labour Party. Been involved with the party since the 2017 election, and since then I've just got more passionate, more involved, and obviously now is the most exciting time in politics. We've been sitting on the edge of our seat since 2017, wondering kind of when we're next going to get the chance to kick the Tories out. So to hear from you is amazing. Obviously 20,000 followers on Twitter is extremely impressive numbers. And if you could ask Laura Pidcock and John McDonnell to follow me as well, that would be brilliant.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last bit.
I said, could you pass on to John McDonnell and Laura Pidcock that they can also follow me if they want?
Yes, no doubt I can.
Brilliant. It's good. It's a good result. Can't quite hear your audio, mate.
Who's gone?
Okay, no, that was my fault. I was on mute. I said that. Sorry, guys. Is there anything? Is there anything that you want to ask Damo in respect of other than Laura Pidcock following us? Is there anything that you want to ask in terms of sort of your campaigning and whatnot, Guy?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, one question would be, where did you kind of come up with the idea that short, bite-sized videos, put them all over social media? Where did that come from?
Well, I kind of started out by trying to do cut and paste videos, really. I used to take bits of video clip or just still pictures and string them together with a basic bit of software, put some text over the top to try and tell a story on happening or something like that. And it was incredibly time consuming to do that. And as much fun as that might be, if you're trying to get a lot of tweets out, or you want to maximize the amount of messages you can put out in a day, doing videos like that is not the best way to do it. So I just figured, it was suggested to me by a friend to one thing we haven't seen any of our little circle, the circles we walk in, is somebody prepared to put their own face on camera, essentially. And I thought, sod it, I'll do it. And I had a go, and it was very well received. And from that, I've been able to essentially just write as I said before, a short bit of scripted message on a particular topic. Yeah. And I can just rattle through it because I'm gobby like that, and it just suits me.
Well, credit to the movement stuff.
You have to be gobby to do something like this.
To that, though, however, is I've noticed an awful lot of other people are now doing these videos. So I would like to think that I've inspired a few of them to have a go.
Oh, you definitely have, yeah. You definitely have.
Some of them are far, far better than me.
I found you, Damo, after I had started, but continuously, because I'm a little bit like you. I'm a bit gobby, but I'm probably not as able to put things in a concise manner like you can, and that's what I really, really aspire to. that how can I make sure, because I kind of feel I have to just explain everything to get my point across at times. But that's what I'm saying. The amazing things about your videos is that you literally say within two and a half minutes, 3 minutes, you've got like a plethora of information. And that's the good thing about your clips.
You've got to boil things down to bullet points, essentially, because if you try to explain too much, then you'll find you're overrunning. And I do find this when I'm preparing the vids myself. I will write a load of text, I will collate it all together, and then I realize there is no way I can get that within 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So then you just see how you can condense something. Is anybody that's used to writing, for example, will be used to editing. And essentially, you just edit the amount of words down, and eventually, the 2 minutes 20 is actually a really nice thing, because it's a test of your own writing ability and your ability to edit your own work, to be able to get it down to that shorter space of time. And then I just found that by making sure it fits, so that I can get the entire thing within Twitter's limits, that, you know, I'm boiling it down to the crux of the issue, and I'm not waffling because there's no room for any filler, if you know what I mean. So just put yourself to that test. I mean, you run this fantastic channel, which obviously you have all the time in the world that you wish to put into a program. Whereas what I do, I know I'm up against the clock. I've got a strict time limit. So test yourself. Pick a topic that is close to your heart and try what I do. Just pick up your mobile phone, because that's all I use. Flip it around so you're looking at your own face, and say what you want to say, and see if you can get it within 2 minutes 20. I guarantee the first time you do it, you won't, and you think, wow, I cannot believe I talked for that long. And then you go back to what you've written in preparation for it, and you think, right, how can I cut this down to size? And that's when you start to edit it, and that's when you start to think about really what you're saying, and you will find that you end up with a much better quality, punchier video as a result. It's just the way they seem to work. It's the way they seem to come out.
Practice makes perfect, though, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I mean, I've done a few of them now, and the early ones are rough. I mean, I had no idea about backgrounds. I was filming them in the shed, in my outdoor cobweb.
It adds to the effect, though, doesn't it?
They were ridiculous, but you know, eventually I got the hang of the blank wall behind me, so I haven't anything, you know, distracting from what I'm going to say. And I've invested in. I've got this gadget over here. These things. It's like a clamp-based thing.
Oh yeah.
Clamp to the board, and then I stick my mobile phone in that end, and I can just pop that up, and I can stand away from my phone then, and I haven't got the shaking hand thing then. So it's just little tricks that you learn after a while. It's just helps you come across more professionally. One of these days, I might invest in an actual camera. You never know.
Well, you're certainly on the way to making it even larger, Damo. So that's good. Okay, let's go on to a few subjects now, guys. Manifesto week, really, wasn't it this week? We had the launch of the Labour Manifesto on Thursday, and a lot of the things that were going to be within there, we had already got knowledge of, and some stuff had already been, let's say, conveniently leaked as well for the press to maybe, what should we say, divert away from the one-trick pony that is get Brexit done from Boris Johnson, the Conservatives. And I think personally that's worked to good effect. I think the free broadband policy came out in good timing. That had everybody talking about it. A lot of negative press, no doubt, from the usual suspects. But I think at the moment, even bad press is not bad. Bad press is good press, because it sort of takes the conversation away from what the Tories are trying in terms of just to move everything to everything about Brexit. So it's worked in respect of that. But I know we haven't got necessarily hours and hours to talk about this, but what I wanted to sort of bring in, certainly from you, Guy, first, is what would the standout policies that came out from the Labour manifesto that was released on Thursday?
Well, I was completely blown away by the manifesto. We thought 2017's plan was black. This really is something else. And it would be wrong of me to just congratulate one party. So I would just read a kind of collection laid out the manifesto. Truly impressive. So we've got free broadband, £26 billion for the NHS, a green industrial revolution, 1 million eco-friendly, a 5% wage increase for every teacher in there.
Sorry, guys, the sound is still a bit dodgy. I don't know, Damo, if you're feeling that feedback as well.
Yeah, it's not massively clear. I am straining to hear Guy.
Guy, I don't know. Do you want to maybe just go and have a look at your mic again before we bring you back on for that? Because we are struggling to hear you, really, and there are some great things that I can certainly hear some parts of it. Do you want to just have a look at unplugging some of those things, or maybe logging out and back in again?
Yeah, I'll come out back.
All right, cool. Yeah, Demo, over to you. I mean, I know you probably got quite a bit to say, but what in terms of standout policies do you think really stuck out this week?
If I had to settle on one policy area, I would say the Green Industrial Revolution. I think that climate change should be by miles the most important thing we are talking about in this election, and it's not. Worryingly, we know from what we've been told by the scientists, we need to start to turn around our greenhouse gases and our general pollution within the next sort of 10 years, and Labour are committed to doing that by 2030, going carbon neutral. The Green Industrial Revolution was, of course, launched by Labour here in Cornwall. It was fantastic. I attended the event myself. It was brilliant to see Rebecca Long-Bailey and Barry Gardiner come down to launch it, and it was great to meet them afterwards. Cornwall is an area where industry's kind of died out, essentially. I mean, it's not kind of Thatcher didn't kind of destroy mining. Mining had kind of gone by the wayside many, many years ago, by and large. The final tin mine finally closing up in the 90s. And since then, we've really been reliant on tourism as a county to bring anything in. Cornwall is one of the most poor regions in the whole of Europe. We're heavily reliant on EU money coming in to keep our council kicking over and keep our infrastructure being built on. So the Green Industrial Revolution, I think, was really, really brilliant and could be potentially very, very good for Cornwall. There could be a lot of jobs on offer in Cornwall off the back of the Green Industrial Revolution because of the nature of our geography. We're an extremely windy area, so offshore wind turbines would be exceptional here. Yeah. Corbyn is also Tory. Yeah. Labour has talked heavily about investing in tidal energy, which is something that has been very, very underrated here in the UK. We have this wave hub device off the coast of Hale, but it's been very, very underutilised. And with Cornwall having the largest coastline of any English county in the country, to invest in to have tidal turbines, for example, all the way around our coastline, Cornwall could actually end up becoming a net exporter of energy if the investment was put there. And we've even actually got geothermal energy sources below Penzance. They've actually got an outdoor swimming pool down there heated by geothermal energy already.
Wow.
So that could be another source of energy here. And again, it's all green energy, and these are all jobs that could be created, a whole new industry here in Cornwall. So I think the Green Industrial Revolution would be very good from an employment standpoint. And of course, from a climate perspective, it's absolutely the right direction to go.
Because for so long, we are hearing, aren't we, from the Tories that the Labour aren't the party for business, we're the party for business. But the fascinating thing about the policy that you're talking about in terms of the link between actually saving the environment and the creation of jobs, it's a work of genius, isn't it, Damo?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. They can, and it's not just in that regard that we're appealing to businesses either. With the investment in a national education service, for example, we will have far, far better educated generations coming up through to work in their workplaces. It's win-win for them. And yeah, the biggest corporations, perhaps they need to pay a little bit more for it. But ultimately, if you look around in this country, certain businesses, and I'm thinking the supermarkets mainly, we subsidise those supermarkets through in-work benefits to the tune of £1 billion a year. Now, these are big businesses that make big profit. they can pay a £10 an hour wage tomorrow if they wanted to, and we would no longer, as taxpayers, have to subsidise their employees' wages because they won't pay them properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a whole plethora of offers from Labour that will actually benefit business in the long term, but they can't be short-sighted about it. They need to realise that this is transformative stuff that will change this country over the next decade. It will be a process, but over the next decade, into a far, far better educated, stronger economy than it is today, languishing and ticking along without much inspiration, as it has done from the Conservatives, who have stalemated the economy by and large, whilst equally wrecking public services and destroying people's lives, frankly.
Absolutely. There's certainly a desperation there for the Tories, who no doubt seem to have run out of ideas. The only idea that they have left is really getting Brexit done, and only God knows what the effect their Brexit deal will have on the economy. Guy, how is your sound looking now, or sounding now even?
Can you hear me? Hello?
It's better.
Yes, it is. It is better. It is better. Do you want to go again, Guy? Try to tell us what you were about to earlier.
Right. Let me know if you can't hear me, but
yeah, better.
I'll do my best. So the Labour manifesto, I was absolutely astonished by what we saw. You know, we thought that 2017 was a kind of a radical plan, but then you look at what we're being offered now. It's mind blowing. I mean, some of the main policies: free broadband, 26 billion for the NHS, a green industrial revolution, 1 million eco-friendly homes, and a guaranteed £10 an hour wage from the age of 16. It's such an amazing plan. And all of this being given to us, and 95% of people in this country will not have to pay a single extra penny in order to fund this. It will just be a small increase on the top 5%. So, I mean, it's really tremendous. It's quite frankly, it's a document of hope. It's about investing tremendous amounts of money into our public services, which have been so badly affected by a decade of brutal, unforgiving austerity. But it's all about, as well, a serious and dedicated approach to mitigate the damage that climate change is doing and will kind of cause in the decades to come. We need to take it seriously. We need to make sure it's an issue of priority, because this is the existence of the Earth we're talking about. It's not some joke made up by scientists. So yeah, all encompassing, it's a truly brilliant document, and hopefully it will inspire a lot of people to kind of get out and vote for the first time for something that they can really believe in.
Yeah, and as we usually do here, as good as Labour policy gets, the more the attacks start. And certainly the biggest attacks that happening on the same evening of the manifesto form was the business about how much people would be taxed. And I'm sure Damo will agree with me when I say this, is that one thing that actually has become really, really clear from the Labour side here has been that you will not get taxed anything more if you earn anything less than £80,000. So if you earn 79,999, you're not going to be taxed a penny more. And actually, when you look into the figures of how much more you will be taxed if you are over that £80,000 threshold, actually, it's not a huge amount. It's something like £8 or £9 extra per month, when actually real decent people who are of that sort of earning are saying, actually, if you were to tax me double that sort of double of the £9 for what Labour are offering, that's actually a really, really good deal. It's like an investment. The more you put in through your taxes by paying that little bit more, but look at what you can do for your children. You can give them free education. You are going to be investing in an environment where, you know, as Damo was alluding to earlier, net zero by 2030, a future for your children. You know, we are going to be, you know, you're talking about giving everybody free hospital parking, which is clearly not the case at the moment all over the country. That's just one of the many policies. So the Tories, as they always do, come on the attack. And Damo, I don't know if you, I know you may or may not be watching Question Time these days, but I'm not sure if you caught Question Time this week, where it was a very famous clip of that chap who was going around him earning 80,000. Did you catch that one?
I did, yeah. I don't always catch it. I fear for my blood pressure at times. It's yeah, he was rather special, wasn't he? I think it turned out in the end that he is some sort of race driver or something like that.
That's right, yeah.
He was sat next to his mother, who also got to ask a question and who also went on the attack viciously.
Coincidence?
You know, he didn't even realise that he was in the top 5%. He didn't actually believe he was in the top 50% of earners. And I think there is a certain amount of cognitive dissonance there. And I think it's because everybody actually is feeling the pinch to one degree or another. Now, obviously, he's not feeling the pinch to the degree that an awful lot of people in this country are, but it's enough that he noticed, and it's enough that he got really quite angry about the thought of having to pay a bit more, because he honestly didn't feel that well off. And I do despair at times that people actually are not as politically knowledgeable as perhaps they should be. I mean, I cannot countenance the fact that he didn't realise that the average wage in this country is about £25,000. And then there's an awful lot of people that don't even do that, especially down in Cornwall, which is a very low wage economy in Cornwall. Very few people earn as much as that. They're more likely to be earning 16,000, 17,000 a year. Yeah. And if it's seasonal work, which it quite often is, it's even less.
Yeah.
So I do think there's an awful lot of cognitive dissonance there, but how angry he was quite remarkable. And I think he has been pilloried quite badly on social media. But I wonder how much in his case it was just simple lack of awareness.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say, though, that Richard Burgon, he handled him really well, though, didn't he? Because, look, let's be honest, on the BBC, on that programme, he's not going to get much help from the chair, Fiona Bruce, let's be honest. And what I would have liked him to say a little, I mean, obviously it's difficult when you are at that time, there's a lot that retrospectively later you think of. But actually, what would have been great is if he'd have said, listen, mate, actually, you're only going to be paying about £9 more per month. And I'm sure, you know, when the figures are out there, because actually people relate to, you know, people, the sort of what's going out there at the moment is this kind of, or certainly what the mainstream media and BBC outlets have tried to make it look like, is that, oh, look, there's somebody who's earning 80,000 and look at the pinch he's feeling. Well, I would say, look at the other end of the spectrum. Look at somebody who is earning far less on universal credit, let's say, for example, right? They may, you know, individuals who are on that side of the spectrum may never ever know what it feels like to earn that kind of money. So actually, that sort of rhetoric around, well, actually, you're earning £80,000, but £9 more a month is not a whole lot more, may not have gone down too badly, but as I say, I think he's still well. To be honest,
he would have accepted that. I think he would have argued that, no, you're going to tax an awful lot more than that off me. And I think that the thing that is being misconstrued a lot with regards to this policy is the fact that people don't realise that the extra tax they're paying is only going to be on whatever they earn after they've earned £80,000.
Yeah.
You'd say you could be earning £81,000 and you're effectively, the amount of extra tax you're paying a month, it's the equivalent to a Netflix subscription. It's a lot of money.
Yes.
It's having the policy out there, but then unfortunately you put up with a media that may be biased, that is painting it in a certain light and perhaps not explaining it in a particularly honest way. And, you know, when people say over 80,000, you're going to get hammered, you simply aren't. If you earned £80,000 and a penny, you're paying effectively 5p more tax a month. It's silly.
Yes.
So, you know, it's very, very small amounts. And it's only when you are earning far more than 80,000, is it really going to be a more significant amount? And if you are earning that much, frankly, you're still going to be a wealthy person, even if you're having to pay a bit of a chunk more.
Yeah, no, that's a really fair point.
Live in a civilized country. Taxes are the price you pay to live in a civilized society.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
And there should be no shame in saying that, Damo. You're absolutely right. Guy, I mean,
a taxpayer. It should be a badge of honor that you're doing that well for yourself.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. And certainly in terms of the media outrage to that, so to speak, it seems to be, oh, how dare you? He's earning £80,000. How dare you tax him a little bit more? Well, actually, guys, it's only about £8 or £9 more, and actually, I think it's less than a Netflix subscription, and I only know that because Netflix have been charging me without me even having subscribed to them. So that's how yeah, I am trying to sort it out. Guy, I mean, I'm not sure how much you've looked into this, but we're often accused of being biased on this show. So it wouldn't be fair. It'd be unfair if we didn't mention the launches of the Liberal Democrats manifesto, the Brexit Party's so-called contract with the people, and the Conservatives. And I want you guys to try and get this trending on Twitter if possible. But I put in my original tweet earlier, manifesto of bollocks. So if we can get that trending, I think that would be great. But let's see. Well, any knowledge on the other manifesto? Let's start with the Lib Dems one, guys. Is there anything that stuck out from that? I know something about free childcare that from a budget that would be created from not Brexiting or something like that.
Well, I'll definitely describe in kind of a more in-depth sense what we saw in the Lib Dem manifesto and the Tory one, but I just wanted to make a quick comment, well, not quick, but a comment about the taxation on the top 5% and why it's necessary. So you hear a lot of arguments from people, we've worked so hard for our money on 80k, why on earth should we give it away? It's our money. And the situation in the country at the moment is we've got nearly 2 million people relying on food banks. We've got one homeless person dying every day on the street, 9 million workers in poverty on pathetic wages in workhouse conditions. Tax cuts for the rich and the big corporations has literally been the only priority for the last decade. We've got a knife crime epidemic causing unnecessary and brutal deaths multiple times a day, 130,000 preventable deaths due to a lack of funding on the NHS, OAPs freezing in the cold because they cannot afford heating, those on universal credit starving to death and committing suicide and fear of crippling debt. But according to the Conservative Party, £8 more a month for those on 80k or more is the injustice. I mean, what kind of logic is that?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so in terms of the Lib Dem manifesto, I mean, it got basically zero press coverage, as it should, because they are a tiny party in comparison to the bigger ones. But I think the situation with the Lib Dems is they're throwing around a lot of quite ambitious spending pledges to try and move away from their record, in which they were very much involved in austerity. They propped up the Conservatives for half of this austerity decade. I think now what they're trying to do is throw as much money towards public services as possible. I think one example is 20,000 teachers added to the education system. Whether that alone will undo the damage they've caused. Joe Swinson said we'd be saving £50 billion by not leaving the EU. We haven't left the EU yet, so that's quite a ridiculous thing to say, because what she's quite frankly saying is, you know, we'll keep the money we have at the moment, but at the moment we've still got a society that's really divided, so I don't believe that pledge is actually genuine. But then if we look at the Tory manifesto, it shocked me that they didn't hype it up at all. They didn't prep anyone for it. It literally just happened. I think it made a couple of news outlets and then nothing else. And I think what that tells us is Boris Johnson doesn't want the public to know about his policy because he's riding on one ticket, get Brexit done. Labour want the whole country to know exactly what we're saying, exactly what we're going to do, and it's fully costed. The Tories have kind of swept this whole event under the cover so that people don't see that, quite frankly, what they've got to offer is pathetic.
Damo, I mean, guys just alluded to the fact there that the manifesto bollocks from the Tory party is quite scant.
It's a pamphlet, quite frankly. I mean, the thing that tickled me most was their attempt at a costings pamphlet, the attempt to copy Labour's Grey Book, which was extremely detailed in how it plans to cost absolutely everything within their manifesto. But it's 9 pages long, their costings pamphlet, and the first 3 pages are blank. And the rest of it is written in big letters. So you could probably have written it all down on a napkin, quite frankly. They've made no attempt to really put together a manifesto, and I had a feeling it would be like this because Johnson is fundamentally lazy. What they have thrown out there is frankly insulting. I mean, they've got nothing in there for social care. What Johnson's first pledge was when he became Prime Minister was he's going to deal with the injustice of the social care crisis, and there's nothing in this manifesto on social care at all. Yet he's managed to commit millions of pounds to repairing potholes. Now that's local government spending. Stop starving our local councils of cash; they'll be able to fill the potholes in themselves.
Simple.
That's a huge pledge. The one that got me really angry, being somebody who's a carer of 2 disabled people, was the hospital car parking charges. They want to offer free parking for certain people, and as it turned out, it's senior staff members who will get free parking, rather than the junior ones who were probably more appreciable of having the free parking to start with, less able to pay for it, and also patients who are going into hospital. Or other visitors going to the hospital, as long as the person that they're visiting is terminally ill, they can have free parking. But if the person is expected to make a recovery, they will still have to pay. They're all hurt, the Tories, aren't they? But here's the kicker with it. If they're going to discriminate between who can and who can't park there for free, that has to be administrated. That requires red tape. That requires checks. And all this costs money. It will be far cheaper, actually, to just go down Labour's route and make the parking free. Why won't the Tories just see the logic of that and make it free? I shall tell you why. Because they would rather be on the side of the company running the car park than the bloody patients.
Yeah.
It will always come down to the Tories putting people last.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of doing just that.
And let me show you, Damo, good point you make there. Let me show you how the Tories have reported this, because you wouldn't have thought from what we've just explained. If you can see that on screen now, I don't know if you can.
Let me glasses down there now. Hospital car parking not too long charge the most vulnerable in society, and it's still moving unless they're dying, and then they won't charge.
If you see the Tory graph clip there, you will see that the way that they've reported it is Tories to ask hospital car parking fees for millions, right? So that would have you think that actually, literally, that's going to be the majority of people that car parking fees. It's actually a very select few people, isn't it?
Well, I would imagine as far as social media goes, it would only be a select few people on social media that are not aware that the Telegraph is the Tory graph, and that it would always paint anything the Tories say in the most positive light they can spin on it. Yes. It is disingenuous, but, billionaire press will peddle what the billionaires want them to peddle. Absolutely.
And let's mention very quickly before we move on to the next subject, guys. Anything stick out from the Lib Dems or the Brexit contract with the people that needs mentioning?
The Brexit one makes me laugh because they don't want to call it a manifesto, did they? They wanted to call it a contract with the people. And I suppose a contract is probably the most apt way they could describe it, given the Brexit Party isn't a political party, it's a business. It's basically a vehicle for Nigel Farage to impose his diktat on whoever's fat enough to give him money. So the least said about it, the better, really, because they're not a political party. There's nothing democratic about them.
No.
The Liberal Democrat one was it's nearly as bad as a Tory one, quite frankly. It's all about a vehicle for we're still going to Brexit still. We're going to revoke. We're anti-democratic, and other than that, really not much to comment on it, really. I think Guy covered it far better than I could.
Do you know Guy's only 16, Damo?
Is he really?
Honestly.
Yeah.
He's, a fantastic example of how well educated young people can be politically if they either take an interest or the means for them to pick up on politics and be able to engage with politics and provide it for them. So I think Guy is, as far as his account and his, how he's acquitted himself here today, is a perfect example of somebody who can really spread the word to young people. I like that a lot of universities, a lot of colleges are encouraging people to vote. I think the biggest message that anybody, guys age or even older or younger even, to encourage as many people as possible to get registered to vote.
Yes.
I know the polls are looking mightily unfriendly, but there is a good reason why they're looking rather unfriendly, and it's because they are weighting it in a very similar way that they did last time, and they actually won last time. And they're also trying to compensate somewhat for the Brexit Party not standing in Tory-held seats. So the Tory vote, I firmly believe, is being artificially inflated to demoralise people a little bit. And, it's something that people need to be increasingly aware of. And the way to make these polls, ensure that they are as wrong as possible, just as they proved to be wrong last time, is the youth quake, as it was called in 2017. As many young people who historically have been the demographic that is not engaged in politics, and it's because politics has never offered them anything. But Labour has been offering young people policies now. They're offering a lot this time. They offered a lot last time. This time is so much more than last time. And people are registering in their droves. But there's still 9 million people in this country who are not registered, who are not giving themselves the choice to cast a vote or not on the 12th of December. So I would encourage all of them, even if they're not particularly sold on any one party, just to give themselves the option. Make sure you get registered.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely. Sorry, Guy, carry on.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you very much. That's really kind comments. Really appreciate it. And also a quick point on the Brexit Party contract, I think they're calling it.
Yeah.
When I kind of envision what that looks like, I think of it like a football contract, and in big writing it says, we're going to stick around, we're going to help you out. And then if you look at the small print, it will say, except from Nigel Farage, he's going to quit the day after to his next far-right endeavour. And that's how I envision it.
I'll tell you what, that's a very, very good way to articulate it. And I think for anybody who is up there considering voting for the Brexit Party, just look at what they've done in terms of standing down in neighbouring Tory seats to allow the majority to go towards the Tories. The Brexit Party and the Tory Party are one of another now, guys. That's what I think is a fair thing to say. So actually putting too much emphasis on their manifesto, their contract, whatever you want to call it, I don't think they're taking it too seriously themselves. So personally, I would
something out, and ultimately they know that they've succeeded in transforming the Conservative Party into the Brexit Party.
Yes,
and the Democrats become the new Conservative Party. They are both right-wing parties,
and they've done it very well. They've done it very well. Yeah.
Yeah, of course they have. But by lurching ever further to the right, they're alienating people. And the only way they've got to fight people to try and keep hold of their core base votes is to keep convincing everybody that no, they haven't actually changed. But look over there at Jeremy Corbyn. He's talking to the IRA and all the rest of the smears that they like to come up with to attack the left with. And it's Project Fear. They are trying to scare people into sticking with them, even though they've got worse and worse and worse. And really, if you look at these manifestos, they are not offering anything. Mm-hmm. It's insulting. Yeah. They think this is enough. It's arrogant that they believe this is enough for them to win and keep their vote because they can just keep repeating the mantra over and over, get Brexit done, get Brexit done. In fact,
Yeah.
Tory's saying get Brexit done. This isn't even going to get Brexit done. This is getting Brexit off the starting line. 3.5 years, they've broken down at the starting line and haven't even got into the race yet. Because once the withdrawal agreement bill does pass, they've got all the negotiations. The bit that we were told was the hard bit. The last 3.5 years have been the easy bit. They got the hard bit to go, which is the trade negotiations. And Johnson reckons he can get this done in months. It will take years and years. It's an absolute nonsense to believe that he's going to get this done in any meaningful way. And just like everything else he's done up till now since he became prime minister, he's going to balls it up.
Yeah, absolutely, fair point. Right, just let's move on to sort of final subject before we wrap up tonight, guys. And just give me a second so I can bring in another person who joins us on our streams. I'm just adding. John, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, John. John, meet Damo from Damo Rants. Damo, meet John.
Hello. I think I've heard of you somewhere, but I can't recall where.
Off the internet, probably.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, can everybody hear each other still? Because we have been having some sound issues tonight.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so the sort of final segment of the show, guys, I wanted to touch base, and I know we covered the ITV debate earlier in the week. I think the general consensus was that it was quite underwhelming, but certainly the BBC debate that took place on Friday evening was far from underwhelming. Damo, I mean, I'm not sure if you caught that show, but I think Mr. Corbyn, he had quite a presentable evening. I
saw the Corbyn section of the debate. Haven't seen the rest of them, sadly, except for bits and pieces, but we'll get into that later.
Well, I watched the entire show, and I think I probably had it on mute in places for the Nicola Sturgeon segment of it, which, to be fair, was generally quite boring for me in places. But I certainly turned it up for the Joe Swinson segment, and that's when the fireworks came out, didn't they, Damo?
Well, she didn't have a good time of it, did she, to be honest with you? She did look on the verge of tears at one point. I really think that that was her day of reckoning, quite frankly. She got wrecked. But although Corbyn definitely came out on top, it wasn't because he got an easy ride of it. I mean, a lot of the more right-wing commentators on Twitter have been saying, "Oh God, what a left the audience." This is BBC Question Time, for heaven's sake. There's no such thing. I mean, and there was a plant there. Yet again, as always, there he is, the plant.
The guy in the white shirt, Damo.
In a white shirt. He's always in a white shirt. It's fourth and always very anti-Corbyn in his, which isn't surprising. A local Tory candidate for his local council, which I believe is Lincoln, but I could be wrong on that. And of course he got a question again. So, but Corbyn came out of it brilliantly. He answered the guy's question. He kept trying to butt back in, but he wasn't allowed to. I actually think Fiona Bruce, for all her failings on most shows, she actually did rather well that night.
She did better than she does on a Thursday night.
I think she had to be fair. But no, it was, as far as Swinson goes, she had a nightmare.
And Guy, I know you didn't watch this show, or I'd say live as it happened, but I'm sure you watched it in retrospect. There was. I would personally say that there was a lot of genuine clapping and sort of animation, positive animation for Jeremy Corbyn when he was answering these questions compared to the others. What was your view of the debate on Friday?
I mean, I am at a point now where I've caught up with everything, so all the debates, with the question time, the one-on-one, and I think overall Corbyn came out well. There were some quite hard-hitting questions, a lot of issues that we can't sometimes like to weave around, but he addressed everything. He gave some really positive and honest answers. But of course, I mean, Jo Swinson, what on earth is she doing? there's a lot of potential for the Lib Dems, whether you agree with their approach or not, to actually galvanise a very large amount of voters who are kind of do or die Remain, and have revoke policy is just completely falling flat on its face. I mean, God, it was horrible to watch. I actually felt an ounce sorry for her, but then I remembered what she did in the coalition, so that kind of went away. But I would just mention quickly, I know Cooperman has a squirrel in his profile picture. If we ever bring Joe Swinson on, we'll probably have to get rid of that.
Fair enough. But anyway, but yeah.
What about yourself, Cooper? What was your view of the debate? Have you caught up as well now, or?
I've only seen, for most part, the Jeremy Corbyn and some of the Sturgeon bits, but I have seen clips of the Swinson and Johnson bit, and I have to admit, I'm very convinced that if this wasn't for the fact that we had Brexit in the way, probably hands down, Corbyn would probably be winning the selection just because of how good he answers questions. I'm glad that he's finally answered the whole what position he would take thing with neutral. Not really what I would probably have said myself, but it's something at least. I wish he said this much sooner because I feel like him delaying this kind of answer will probably hurt him a bit. Not sure if it will gain him any new votes in either Leave or Remain section. At least it's definitely not with diehards. But it's a position now, and you try and sell it because I ended up when I was in Welland Hatfield canvassing. I met a Tory that's now voting Liberal Democrat due to the whole Brexit thing, but can bring us back to vote Labour due to the fact that the leader didn't make up his mind and stuff. So there's that.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Cooper. Damo, that was the time when, for the first time, it had been announced that Corbyn actually did use the word neutral. Now, Cooper says he doesn't think it's bought him any more votes. I would happen to disagree. But what do you think?
I don't think Brexit is ever going to be the topic that's ever going to suit Labour's agenda. But ultimately, Labour didn't ask for this problem. It is it's an issue that's completely Tory manufactured and Tory made, and they will always try to spin it back to them being the only ones that can actually get it done and get it dealt with. As far as Corbyn's neutral position, it's not a new position really. I mean, if you think about it, he's always adopted because he's never wanted to go one side or the other. It's the only position that doesn't seek to divide the country. It is the only logical grown-up position. I do agree that I wish he'd come to this position, declared it publicly before now. I think it would have he would have avoided a lot of the damage caused by people who, in the media, who will try and say, "Oh, it's confused, it's a fudge. He doesn't really know what he wants, can't decide." It's not a matter of it really shouldn't matter what the leader of the party decides. What should matter is that you can trust him as leader of the country to deliver on whatever the public vote comes out at. And the only way you can do that is to be above taking a position of one way or the other. More than I wish Corbyn had taken this position before is I wish that other members of the shadow cabinet hadn't automatically come out and chosen a side, because that has undermined the message. And I think that it's potentially something that Labour is always going to struggle to gain ground back on. However, if you're looking at the mess the Liberal Democrats are in, the car crash of a debate Joe Swinson had the other day, the ridiculousness and undemocraticness of their Brexit position, I think anybody who is Remain-leaning and can see just how appalling the Liberal Democrats actually are right now, Labour is a much more attractive proposition and a much more credible one to actually deliver a referendum where they could swing things back and we could end up remaining. Because frankly, the Liberal Democrats are not going to form the next government. They're not going to deliver this on the vote. They are not going to deliver anything else in that manifesto. It is literally going to be that hard Tory Brexit with Boris Johnson adamant he can get this deal through, which he won't, with his withdrawal agreement through, which even if he does, is going to then lead into trade talks, which will take years. And he's now saying, or Michael Gove saying it this morning on Andrew Marr, that he will not, under any circumstance, extend anything past the end of next year. Now, these trade talks take as long as I fully expect them to do. The Canada deal with the EU took 7 years for all. He's going to end up cracking us out without a deal at the end of next year rather than this year, which, if the stories concerning his hedge fund backers are true, is exactly what they want.
Yeah, it's all a ploy. But no,
you've got that crash out at the end of next year, or you've got a referendum under Labour where you will get a sensible Brexit deal that won't screw this country up, or you could, potentially, or we could end up potentially voting to change our minds.
You're absolutely right. There's only 2 ways out of it, really, and it's the 2 main parties who it's as you say, it's as you mentioned with the Tory way, where actually there's either going to be a really, really long-winded manner or a crash out no deal, which should be disastrous for the country, or a very, very sensible way with actually a very close economic relationship with the European Union, or the option to remain. So the people have a choice to decide in case they change their mind. But I just want to bring a little bit back in terms of certainly the BBC and the media, mainstream media won't report. This is Jeremy Corbyn's introduction, as Boris Johnson came through the back door the other night. This was Jeremy Corbyn's introduction into Sheffield, in the studio that night. Let me just hit play. We have a bit of lag there.
I think I'll be hearing that chant selection, but hey.
So, did everybody hear the audio on that?
Yeah.
Swiss, when he was doing his stream the other night, Cooper, he taught me how to do this. So, did the viewers get to hear the audio on that by any chance? Because hopefully it's worked.
You can hear it for some of it.
Okay. So that's so this is the thing, the difference at the moment when we talk about these debates. I mean, not only did Mr. Johnson cancel, I think it was supposed to be this evening, the Channel 4 debate, but he tend to be going through these institutions and the studios and the hospitals through the back door, mostly seeking booze and a very, very volatile negative reception. And I think it's only fair that we, as an alternative version of the media, show you that is what Jeremy Corbyn was faced with on his introduction and into the Sheffield studio that evening. Everywhere he goes, he has those kinds of introductions. Guy,
people and stuff like that.
Say that again, Dave. Say again.
I said you've got people queuing around the blocks to go and see him. You've got vast crowds, and they're all cheering for him. And everywhere he's gone, where he's met the public, he has been met with boos and hisses. He went to Telford today, Johnson, and people got wind of the fact that he was heading there, and there was massive protests. And they were hitting him, and he was there promising that Telford Hospital was going to receive funding and it was going to be saved. And then later on tonight on Twitter, Matt Hancock announced, no, it's not. This is Johnson gets booed. He is dishonest. He just cannot tell the truth to save his life. And social media's genius at it. He will never get away with it because someone somewhere will pick up on it, will expose it, will put it on social media, and then people like me blow it up.
And yeah, absolutely. And I know that area very well, Damo. That is a hospital that is due to close. So I wouldn't even be surprised if Boris Johnson, whilst talking about giving that hospital funding, probably didn't even know that that's a hospital that they're about to close. I mean,
He probably believes it's one of his 40 mythical new hospitals.
Well, that's exactly, Guy. I mean, I the reason why I played that clip was, and Cooper, feel free to contribute on this one as well. And I think Damo alluded to this. This is where we sort of want to wrap up now in terms of bringing a close to the show tonight. But there certainly, when we look at the statistics of that evening for the debate, I believe there was something like 300,000 new people who registered to vote. The main majority of them between the ages of 18 and 25, if I remember correctly. Now, Guy, being a young person, Cooper, say it for yourself as well, are we seeing the eruption of another 2017 or larger scale of youthquake that could potentially give hazard to the polls that YouGov are showing at the moment, guys?
I mean, if you look at the kind of the popularity polls on Jeremy Corbyn, it looks actually pretty scary. But when you see Corbyn out on the street talking to people, when you see him going to these events, you have to kind of question, who on earth are they polling? This doesn't look like an unpopular man. He's got a very wide range of support among all generations whenever he turns up to these things, and that's obviously impressive. But in terms of whether we're replicating 2017, there's a brilliant chart. Well, I probably don't have it anywhere on me at the moment, but it basically shows our polling line and the polling line for the rest of the parties. And if you take our progression of 2017 and look at ours now, it stays on the line completely 100% all the time. And if you look at the Tories, it's actually dipping by about 4 to 5 points. So the fact that, you know, we've only just had the manifestos launched, obviously there's so much more campaigning to do, you know, a real large number of debates left to do as well. There's so many lined up. I think that if we're on track to get where we were last time now, when we could be dipping under, it's, you know, we've had 2 years of the mainstream media smearing Labour constantly, and you know, they've had a real chance to damage our party after that first election. But we're staying strong. We're making the progress that we need to make, and I can only hope, pray, and campaign to my heart's content that we get a Labour government.
Well, in terms of YouthViewz, I am hoping that they will turn out like last time. Granted, I believe Matthew Goodwin has tweeted literally 3 hours ago how Labour has lost about 14% of its turnout from the 1884 to like the Lib Dems and the Greens. But who knows? We could possibly cover that in the next couple of coming weeks. It is encouraging that so many million, a few million have registered to vote. So the question is they going to turn out? But because they could make the difference, at least make it, even if we lose the election, if they can at least make it a hung parliament like last time, we might be able to stop, or even if we don't stop the Brexit thing, might be able to at least get an general election quicker and possibly get in that time. But yeah, I'm remaining hopeful at the moment. Yeah, I'm hopeful. But yeah, it's encouraging that you for turning out. I hope they continue to do so.
We have a comment here from Sky Echo who says Corbyn couldn't be less power hungry, to be honest. And to be fair, he was happy on the back benches, but of course he wants Labour to win. Can't say the same about Swinson or Johnson. I think that's a fair point. And just sort of closing with the and actually Damo took a lot of this point without knowing I was going to sort of finish on this. So I thank you. I won't have to repeat any of it. You know, when we look at polls and we look at the timing of polls, we generally see more of these YouGov polls when it shows Tories or the Tories in an overwhelming lead. Now, I have no shadow of doubt that the real true poll, when I say the real true poll, I mean the public mood, which none of us will ever know until the 12th of December. the real true poll, the mood of the country is swaying in the favour of a Labour government at this moment in time. Now, the polls will not show you this. There is absolutely no way, or certainly they will not show you this now, because they are there to try and influence your thinking. The idea behind showing polls of those kind of nature is to show you that actually public mood is content with the status quo. But the points that we've made, even on this show this evening, the austerity that has literally killed people, the climate emergency that exists at this moment in time, the need for transformation in this society, the racist comments and actually the bigoted views of the Conservative Party and what these guys will do if they get another 5 years is worrying the public and making them scared. And that's just not from the walk of life that I live and the people that I talk to, but this is coming out in social media. And yes, the Tories have much more money than us, but what we have is we have the people on the ground, we have humanity, we have the manifesto that is going to transform this country. And that's why I would urge all of our viewers who are viewing right now and who will subsequently view this is literally ignore polls. That's how I've set myself up. And that is actually how, believe you me, Jenny Formby and the Labour leadership, they do not look at polls. They do not care about polls. They are all out there to win every seat, because actually these polls that are released mean nothing. They're generally speaking a sample of a number of calls or an online survey from a collection of people that they then use a methodology to determine how many seats are won. And most of the time, it's absolute bullshit, guys, right? So if there's anything I can ask you to take from today, and you will hear the media now say next week, oh, after Labour's released its manifesto, there's no bounce. That means the Conservatives are in favour of the public. I ask you to look at the videos of wherever Boris Johnson goes around the country and listen to his reception. And I would equally ask you to listen to the reception, which you won't hear so much on the news, but you hear on social media in respect of Mr. Corbyn. So the second thing I want to say is Tuesday is the deadline to vote, guys. Tuesday, after Tuesday, they will not be taking any more applications to vote. Last time in 2017, some 200,000 people applied to vote after the deadline. I don't want any of you guys to be one of those 200,000 people. Please, 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 just type it into Google, register to vote, and the link will come up. Damo, as our guest for today, I want to give you final word, and please don't be a stranger. Please come and stream with us regularly. I think you have enthused our audience tonight, and you've given us so much food for thought. Final thoughts, my friend.
Yeah, it's been good fun. Thanks for inviting me along. Finally, I thought me finally accepting an invite, because I've been dragging my feet a little bit about it, haven't I? I'm too used to recording things and not going live. Just nervous. Anything about I will just add to what you said about the registering to vote. It is singularly the most important thing that has to happen now, and it takes less time than it takes to boil a kettle. So you have absolutely no excuses. Go online and do it. gov.uk/register-to-vote. Please go and do it now. Don't wait till Tuesday. Do it now.
You can tell that he's done that one before, can't you? The fact that it does. Sorry, say again, Damo.
Typed it out once or twice.
Listen, guys, you've been brilliant. Cooper, thank you for coming on. Guy, thank you equally as well. I know that you're not feeling too well tonight, so you probably laboured through this one. But you do need to go and sort your mic out for next time, my friend, because there's
definitely will.
An echo there. Listen, guys, thank you for being with us tonight and giving us your time. Please, 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 as Damo says, Don't be one of these people moaning later and saying I can't affect change because they didn't bother to register to vote. Tuesday's the deadline. It takes you literally a couple of minutes to fill in the form. Please, please, please register to vote, and we'll be continuing to push this over the next couple of days. I've been Harry Khan. I will see you all soon. Good night, guys, and God bless.